Hi, I'm Kate Bailey and welcome to the Christmas List. Let's start with 5 things you may not know about Santa Claus. Number 5. He's also known as Saint Nicholas, a reverent and kind bishop who was born more than 1100 years ago. Saint Nick was well known for secret gift giving to children and the poor. He dedicated his whole life to Christianity and is said to be resting at the North Pole, but we know what he's really up to. Number 4. It wasn't until 1810 that most people got an idea of what Santa Claus actually looks like. A popular cartoonist of the time, Thomas Nast, did a political cartoon of Santa Claus in 1863 for Harper's Weekly Journal. Number 3. The first time anyone heard about Santa going down a chimney was in an 1809 book, A History of New York. It's also the first time Santa was described as a portly, bearded man who smokes a pipe. I'll bet you didn't know the Coca-Cola Company helped Santa Claus get his modern-day look. In 1915, Coke ran this ad of Santa in a red coat with white beard and black boots. Before then, Santa and his elves were portrayed in green robes. The new look was so popular, it has stuck with Santa ever since. And number 1, we know there are a lot of Santa's helpers out there, in malls and parades. But did you know many of them have certified Santa Claus degrees? You can earn one at several Santa Claus schools or universities, such as the Charles W. Howard Santa Claus School, the world's oldest Santa Claus school, established in 1937. Can you imagine what the dorms must look like? What's the best place to find Santa Claus? We have the top 5. Every year, there are hundreds of Santa parades held in small towns all over the United States. Santa parades are especially popular in Canada, but the granddaddy of them all, the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Every kid waits for the moment that Santa arrives. Number 4, you can always find Santa at the mall. This tradition might seem like a modern practice, but it has a great 122 years old tradition. This practice was introduced by a businessman, James Edgar, in 1890 when he started to play Santa with other employees as elves in his departmental store at Brockton, Massachusetts. If you can't find Santa, you can always write him a letter. Most countries have a special zip code for letters to Santa. Children write letters to Santa Claus, and postal workers or volunteers help Santa write back. The United States Postal Service has been doing this since 1912. Number 2. Modern technology lets us track Santa Claus as he makes his magical journey across the globe. Tracking Santa became popular when Sears ran an ad in Colorado Springs newspaper in 1955, where they mistakenly gave an incorrect telephone number for children to call Santa. The calls went to the Colorado Air Defense Command, where Colonel Harry Shoup took the calls and told children about Santa's location. In 1958, the North American Aerospace Defense Command, or NORAD, took over, and today you can track Santa through their website. Back in 2010, the easiest place to find Santa was Porto City of Portugal. That's because more than 15,000 people dressed up as Santa Claus. The gathering is now known as the Guinness Book of World Records for the largest Santa Claus parade. She's the First Lady of the North Pole, cookie baker extraordinaire, and doesn't mind when her husband stays out all night. Here's our list of things you probably didn't know about Mrs. Claus. Santa was a bachelor until the late 1800s. The first mention of a wife for Santa Claus was in the 1849 short story, A Christmas Legend by James Rhee. Since 1889, Mrs. Claus has been depicted as a fairly heavy-set, kindly, white-haired elderly woman. We usually see her baking cookies somewhere in the background. Sometimes she helps with toy production, and of course, she oversees Santa's elves. We know her as Mrs. Claus, but her first name is shrouded in mystery. She has been referred to as Mary, Annalena, Jessica, Layla, Martha, Casey, Juliana, and Gretchen. I guess only Santa and Mrs. Claus know the truth. Next, we count down the A-Team of Christmas Eve, better known as Santa's Reindeer. We first learned about Santa's reindeer in the 1822 poem, "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." The 56-line poem introduced and popularized many of Santa's defining characteristics, chiefly that he drove a sleigh guided by 8 tiny reindeer. Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Donner, and Blitzen. We also learned their names in The Night Before Christmas, but Donner and Blitzen were originally called Dunder and Blixen. He may be the most famous reindeer of all, but we only learned the existence of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer in 1939. The retail store Montgomery Ward would give away coloring books to kids every year at Christmas. In 1939, they created Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. The book was so popular, they distributed 2.5 million copies that year. Rudolph may be the most famous reindeer of all, but he should really be depicted without his antlers, because male reindeer shed their antlers in the winter. Let's give them a break. These guys do live in the North Pole. Up next on the list, we count down our top Christmas cartoons. Plus, do you know which one is the longest running TV special in history? There are some seriously strange Christmas traditions around the world. We have the top 5 you probably don't want to try. In Norway, their biggest concern on Christmas Eve: witches. Seriously. People there are worried witches are going to sneak into their homes and steal their brooms for a Christmas Eve joyride. So the Norwegians take preventative measures on Christmas Eve and hide all of their brooms. In Greece, they're worried about bad spirits too. Evil spirits live deep inside the earth most of the year and wreak havoc on Greek homes during Christmas. Some say they look like people. Others say they look like very tall things that wear metal shoes. How do the Greeks keep these evil spirits away? They hang a pig jaw inside the chimney to keep those evil spirits from coming down. In Venezuela, most people in the city of Caracas make sure to go to church Christmas morning. They're on this list because of how they get there. The streets are actually closed off Christmas morning to allow churchgoers to get there by roller skate. Nothing like a little cardio before church. The British love their Christmas pudding. They also believe that if you make the pudding right, it can bring you luck as well. Some say if you mix your pudding in a clockwise direction and make a wish, it will come true. The number 1 strange Christmas tradition on this list is from the Czech Republic. On Christmas Eve, an unmarried girl is supposed to throw a shoe over her shoulder and towards the front door. If the shoe lands with the toe pointing toward the door, the girl will marry within a year. There's nothing like a great Christmas cartoon to bring you back to your childhood. 7 animated masterpieces made our list. Who can forget the original How the Grinch Stole Christmas?
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
This cartoon was released in 1966 and became an instant classic. Who can forget when the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day? He's the cat known for eating lasagna and mailing the dog to Abu Dhabi. A Garfield Christmas. In this Christmas classic, Garfield shows off another soft spot by reuniting a family just in time for Christmas. Next up, the world's most famous mouse tells the story of Bob Cratchit in Mickey's Christmas Carol. This adaptation of Scrooge and his Christmas ghosts is a brilliant holiday tale of love and hope for change.
It's Christmas morning! I haven't missed it! The spirits have given me another chance!
Next, we're heading back to 1970, and Santa Claus is coming to town.
But doesn't Santa take a little bit of that unhappiness away?
Fred Astaire narrates and explains the secrets of Santa Claus, such as why he goes down the chimney and how reindeer can fly.
Frosty the snowman, what a happy, jolly soul.
The next Christmas cartoon is as famous as the song, Frosty the Snowman. Believe it or not, the song was actually written first and was the inspiration for this Christmas TV special. The Polar Express. Look carefully, it's not real but computer animated. Tom Hanks stars as the train conductor taking us on an amazing ride to the North Pole. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer first aired in 1964 and has been on TV every year since.
Santa.
And smart, too.
The story of the misunderstood red-nosed reindeer who guides Santa's sleigh is the longest-running Christmas TV special in history. Who hasn't seen this one? A Charlie Brown Christmas. This TV movie may be the most recognizable Christmas special of all time, and it actually features a biblical passage about the birth of Christ.
And the angel said unto them, Fear not, for behold, I bring you tidings of great joy, which shall be to all people. For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which is Christ the Lord.
The Peanuts characters teach us about the real meaning of Christmas while putting on a school play.
Maybe it just needs a little love.
It's also how we got the famous Charlie Brown Christmas tree. Up next, we introduce you to some of the Santa Claus traditions from around the world. Christmas shows up all over the world in so many different ways. Here's our list of 4 Christmas finds. Christmas Island in the Indian Ocean was discovered in 1643 on, you guessed it, Christmas Day. On Christmas Eve in 2007, the country of Kyrgyzstan named one of its mountains Mount Santa Claus. The idea was suggested by a Swedish logistics company that the peak of the mountain would be the perfect spot from which Santa could distribute gifts to children all over the world. People in Finland claim Santa spends most of his time there and not at the North Pole. They say Santa set up an office at the Arctic Circle in Lapland, Finland, so children can tell Santa what they want for Christmas. That's because the trip to Santa's workshop in the North Pole is too dangerous and, of course, in a secret location. Lapland also happens to have lots of reindeer and is now a major tourist attraction every year around Christmas. 99750 is the zip code for North Pole, Alaska. Christmas-themed streets in North Pole include Santa Claus Lane, St. Nicholas Drive, Snowman Lane, and Kris Kringle Drive. Its biggest attraction is a gift shop named Santa Claus House, the modern-day incarnation of a trading post established in the town's early days. The Santa Claus House is known for the world's largest fiberglass statue of Santa Claus. Despite the name, the city is about 1,700 miles south of Earth's geographic North Pole. The story of Santa Claus is a bit different depending on where you live. Here's the top Santa legends from around the world. In addition to Santa Claus, many countries still celebrate their own unique Christmas characters. Take the Yule Lads, a group of 13 mischievous creatures that have largely taken the place of Santa Claus in the Icelandic celebration of Christmas. They're known for their playful behavior. Think of the 7 dwarfs. Some legends can be a bit creepy, like this one from several Scandinavian countries. The Tomte are small, gnomish creatures that keep watch over family farms. Apparently, they're generally kind and look out for people, but they have short fuses. Over the years, the Tomte have started to look more and more like Santa. Literally meaning the Christ child, Christkind is a holiday gift giver associated with different parts of the world dating back to the 1500s. He is supposed to literally be the baby Jesus. Christkind is usually depicted as a small, saintly child with blonde hair and the wings of an angel. Belsnickel is a legendary figure who accompanies Santa Claus in certain regions of Europe, as well as some small Pennsylvania Dutch communities. Belsnickel is to be the main disciplinarian of Santa's entourage. He's usually depicted as a mountain man-style figure, with fur covering his body, and he occasionally wears a mask with a long tongue. Unlike Santa, who was designed to be beloved by children, Belsnickel is generally a character to be feared, and in most regions, he's seen as a sort of warning to convince kids to be good. Over to France now, where Papa Noel is one of the most popular incarnations of Saint Nick. He resembles Santa Claus in appearance, but instead of using reindeer, he rides a single donkey. He places small gifts and candy in shoes left next to the fireplace. She's similar to Santa Claus in style, but quite different in appearance. La Befana is a witch-like character who has become a big part of Christmas celebrations in Italy. She's said to have been a kind woman who gave food and shelter to the 3 wise men while they were traveling to visit the baby Jesus. La Befana climbs down the chimney to leave gifts for kids and is often known to sweep up before she leaves. In some European countries, Santa Claus is the same jolly old gift giver as he is here, but with one key difference. He's accompanied by a terrifying, bloodthirsty monster called the Krampus. The legend dates back to the 1800s, where Krampus delivers punishments to naughty kids. In some parts of Bavaria and Austria, where Krampus Day is held on December 5th, people dress up and parade through the city, scaring people. Grandfather Frost is the traditional holiday gift giver of Slavic countries in Eastern Europe. Like Santa, he wears a flowing red costume and sports a white beard, but he doesn't use reindeer or ride a sleigh. Instead, he drives a traditional Russian horse-drawn sled. Sinterklaas comes to the Netherlands each year in late November. He arrives by steamboat from Spain and is paraded through the city streets so that he can greet all the Dutch children. Sinterklaas is the Dutch version of Santa Claus, with his traditional red costume, flowing white beard, and all-around jolly demeanor. Many have claimed that he is the biggest influence in the creation of the modern-day Saint Nick. Father Christmas dates back to the 1600s. He's depicted as a merry old man clad in a green robe. At the time, he wasn't seen as a gift giver, but rather as the spirit of good tidings and the joy of the Christmas season. That's it for this episode of The List. I'm Kate Bailey. See you next time.